So good afternoon. It's great to see you all here. I know you've had a busy day. We are thrilled to have a chance to talk to you about student success and how we're organized to help support students on their journey here at Berklee, and also give you a nice introduction to the first semester schedule and the resources and supports around it. I do want to make an announcement about much of what's in the presentation so we can make sure we've got the right people in the audience. So there were opportunities, I believe, for the conservatory parents to meet with some of the deans and the executive director of the conservatory because the curriculum there is set up very differently than at Berklee in a really fun and interesting way. And it's hard for us to cover both of those in this presentation. So if you're from the conservatory, know we're going to talk about some great success tips and how to work with your student. But the center of the presentation is really going to dive into the Berklee core curriculum because it's so unique and it's so important to the students. So if I've got any conservatory parents, I just wanted you to know that first so that you're not surprised later on in the presentation. All right, now that I've got my infomercial out of the way, I think we'll dive in. So good afternoon again. I'm Lori Johnson. I'm the Dean of Student Advising and Success, and like I said, just thrilled to be here with you today. I've been doing this work for quite some time now, and every fall when a big new entering class shows up on whatever campus I'm on, it gives me great energy and excitement to welcome them. And the older I get, truthfully, the more I appreciate it because I have determined there is nothing like the unbridled talent, the optimism, and the idealism of youth. And that rubs off on me, and I feel grateful to be in a role where I get to be a part of that year after year after year. So as I mentioned, what we're going to do today is talk a little bit about the first year curriculum. We'll talk about academic support for that curriculum. We'll talk about advising support and then offer some general advice for students. I'm going to kick it off and just share a few words because they've asked me to and I like to, and I think, hopefully I have a thing or two to share that'll be worthwhile for you. I want you to know we take this work seriously. We're a team of 35 in Student Advising and Success, with probably close to 75 or 100 students working as tutors and mentors with us, and we've got some of them here today. So the college is really organized to provide support for your students. And I want you to know we take that work seriously. It's a profession for us, but I know talking to my colleagues and the tutors and the mentors, it's also personal. It's something we care deeply about. And we know what's possible for students when they're given an opportunity to engage fully, to develop their talents, and really define their purpose, because that's what they're going to do while they're here too. So I've got just a few words of advice for you before I turn it over to my team. I've been hearing the Dean of Admission say the last few days this is the most talented class we've admitted in Berklee's history. So that's amazing. So kudos to all of you. Yes, kudos. To all of you and your students for getting here. There is a great deal of talent here, and the talent comes from all over the world. Almost all the states in the U.S. are represented, and then we have students usually anywhere from 80 or 90 countries in the world. So we really are cultivating what we think is the best young talent, musical talent in the world. This is going to mean something for your students, though. So my first bit of advice is help them to have courage. Because here's what's going to happen for a few of them in their first semester, right? There's all this great talent, and they're great talent. And many of them are probably the best talent in their high schools and their hometowns, right? And that's why they're here, because they're the best talent already. But they're going to have a moment maybe this year where they look around, some of them will, and say, oh boy, I don't know, can I do this? There really is, people who can do things I didn't even know was possible with music. And we know that this is what's going to happen. They're going to call home. Their confidence is going to be shaken just a little, right? And we've done lots of study on this, and Sandra, who you're going to hear from, and her team actually have a whole workshop on this. It's called imposter syndrome. And I think we've all experienced it at some point in our life. We all said, am I a fraud? Am I supposed to be here? I know I had a point in my professional career where it happened to me. I took an associate provost role, and this provost I worked for was just like, he had the mental capacity of no one I'd seen before, and in the first month, he gave me all of this material to read and synthesize and report back on, and I said, can I do this? And then I said to myself, all right, you work with students like this all the time. Of course you can. You can do this. Lots of you, maybe the first time you became parents and took that little baby home, said, yeah, whoa, nobody was going to be like this. Can I do this? Can I last for another 18, 19, 20 years till they're into adulthood? Your students might feel that at some point here. A little bit of imposter syndrome, maybe a little bit of what we might call fraud. It's normal. It's natural. We'll work with them on that. When they call home, tell them, have some courage. You're talented. And then this is what I would say, and this is what we'll say to them too. We know through dedication and hard work, you can be successful. So keep working at your craft. Keep working at your scholarship. Keep working at the thing that's driven you to be here. So my first bit of advice is tell them to have some courage as they're tackling their curriculum and the lessons and all the practice they need to do here. Now this second bit of advice is a little off for me because generally what we're focused on is how to engage sort of academically and musically and artistically. But in the first few weeks when they call home and you want to know, have they been going to class? Have they met their faculty? Do they know their faculty's names? How'd they do on that first quiz or assignment? I would also say back up and just ask them, have you made some friends? Do you know your faculty's name? We all have a drive to belong, right? We all need to belong somewhere to some group of people, and this is a big transition in their life. So this ability to make some friends and get out and do things is really important. And for some of them, that'll happen instantaneously. I bet if I ask some of you, many of you, you'll raise your hand and say, wow, they've already met a few people. I haven't had to worry about them in the last 24 hours. For other students, it's going to take them a little bit longer to do that, and that's okay. But encourage them to make friends because that sense of belonging will help them get really engaged here. It'll help them stay here and feel like this is a place they want to be and grow and develop. So make friends is the second. And then finally, the last thing I'll say is encourage them to ask for help. It's a good skill to have in life, right? When you don't know things, when you're uncertain, when you need some advice, asking for help is really good. And I'll tell you, our approach when we work with students, when the team works with students, is really to support. And we say this all the time when we meet. You know, it's a good thing. Our job really is to help students make good decisions and good plans, right? So when we sit down with them, our goal isn't to fix things for them or make a choice for them. So some of you might have some very ambitious students who are great at many things, and they're going to have a hard time choosing a major, right? Well, we're not going to tell them, you know, I think you should do music production, right? We're going to sit with them, talk it through, and help them sort out what all the choices are so they can make a good decision. In the same way, a few of them might struggle on occasion and find themselves behind in a course because they overslept once or twice and then got embarrassed and didn't know what to do, right? And so our job isn't to fix that for them, but our job is going to support them through how they're going to get themselves back on track and develop those plans and check back in with them. So, you know, I really say we like this environment where we challenge the students, right? Because they need to grow and develop, and if it was easy here, you'd be wasting your money. So we don't need it easy here, but we also don't need to fix things for them. So I would say to you, if your urge on occasion is to try to fix things for students when they call home in a panic and are concerned or upset, of course do what you do as parents, listen and support them in the ways that work for all of you, but then avoid the urge to try to fix it and talk to them about what their plan is and who they're talking to and working with on campus. That's really the best advice I can give you. And there's so many wonderful both peer mentors and staff and in particular faculty who really want to help students that it's not that hard to do. So I'll leave you with those 3 bits of advice, and then I'm going to turn it over to my team to dig in a little to what we do with the curriculum and the academic support. And let me introduce Sandra Musella. She's our Director of Academic Advising.
Okay, you just skip those 2. Okay, so hello and welcome. This is one of my very favorite times of the year, I have to say. Having all the new students coming in, their energy is just amazing. So I just want to talk a little bit about who we are as academic advisors. So we are partners with your student in their educational discovery in which there is shared responsibility, just like Laurie was just speaking about. So we're there to help support them and guide them on their way to on their journey to graduation. We are a team of 7 full-time staff academic advisors. Each student is assigned an academic advisor. We support your student with schedule planning, academic struggles, any obstacles that may come up along the way. We work with them around questions with majors. You know, some students will come in knowing they want to be a particular major, but then, you know, once they get here, they see all these other majors and aren't sure. So we really sit and talk to them about their goals, while they're at Berklee and what they want to do after Berklee. So we're here to help them discover that process. And when there's uncertainty, to really sit with them and talk with them. So we have student academic mentors. So we have two wonderful Sams, as we like to call them. So there's Jared Jansen on the end and Lincoln Bravo. So what SAMs do are SAMs work in conjunction with the academic advising team. They add more support. They teach students how to navigate Berklee as well as the website. They teach students how to read and understand the major grids, and they refer students to appropriate campus resources. The engaging seminar. So all first semester students are required to be in this course. It's a first semester seminar course. It fosters a real sense of community and dialogue. It recognizes the role of an artist in society, in the community, and their community. So the nice thing about this course is all students are connected to an academic advisor, a student academic mentor, and their faculty through this course. So they always have a team of support. As you'll see, the student's always in the center. So you have the faculty, the teaching piece, the academic advisor for the academic advising piece, and then the mentoring is the student academic mentors, as well as the advisors and the faculty. So the website is a great place. So like Laurie was talking about earlier, if your student is calling and they're just not sure about things and there's no way for them to even get in touch with us because it's at midnight and they're just freaking out, the website is a great resource for the students. So any questions they have around policies, anything really about Berklee, they can find on the website, and then they can always follow up with us. Resources. So this is how you can really partner with your student to help us as well with the student so they're not feeling when they get a little insecure. So on the academic advising website, we have a lot of great resources. And one of the things that we have is what's called an academic advising syllabus. So, and you can also look at this, and we also have some handouts too for later if you want to grab one. But basically what it does, it explains what academic advising is, the student learning outcomes, and then really how it tells students how they can meet with us. So students can meet with us two ways. They can make an appointment, or they can do a drop-in. So an appointment is 30 minutes where they can really sit down and kind of dig into everything with about the curriculum, about their plans, their graduation plans. And then we also have what are called drop-ins, Monday through Friday. They're about 10 minutes. So students can come in and let's say they just had a quick question. They just really wanted to clarify something. They can come to those drop-ins and meet with an academic advisor. Let's see. And then we also, on this page 2, what students can expect from us, and then what we expect from them. So now we're just going to talk a little bit about what the entering student schedule looks like. So the entering student schedule is broken down into 3 components. There's the music theory component, the performance component, that was funny, component, and then the liberal arts component. So to talk a little bit about the music theory component, I would like to bring up Christy Matthew. He is the director of peer tutoring.
Welcome again. What you see on the screen is the class schedule for a typical entering student at Berklee. If you look at the first 2 courses, Ear Training 1 and Music Application and Theory. These 2 classes deal with the theoretical aspects of music. There is a performance element attached to it, but it mainly deals with the theory of music. Ear training. What is ear training? Training your ears to listen to music. All of us, we turn on the radio or Spotify and listen to music and enjoy it. That's what we are supposed to do. But a musician who creates music or performs music should have the ability to listen to music and describe what they hear. What is the melody line? What are the layers underneath? Looking at music critically and be able to describe what they hear. That's how they grow. So that's what happens in ear training. Music application and theory is the level 1 harmony at Berklee. Here they talk about major scales, minor scales, chords, how to harmonize the melody, what style use, all those basic components of harmony they're discussed in music application and theory. Now, students are required to take 4 levels of ear training and harmony. So every student at Berklee is required to take these courses regardless of what major they pick. So these courses are very important. Why? Because the materials that are covered in these courses are considered to be the backbone, the core of Berklee's curriculum. So it is important for a student to have a clear understanding of the materials in order to be successful here at Berklee and beyond. So these courses are very important. And some students may be placed at a higher level depending on the placement test scores. Now, we want all the students to be successful in these courses so that they are successful here at Berklee, and after they leave Berklee, they are successful. In addition to the classroom instruction on these courses, peer tutoring is available for students. So in addition to what happens in the classroom, students have the opportunity to sit down with one of their peers who has completed these courses successfully, and they can have a one-to-one interaction in an informal setting and learn the materials. So I work as the director of core music courses. So if you hear the word core music, that talks about ear training and harmony and a few other courses, which you will come to know later on. So core music. So I work as the director of core music tutoring. So we have close to 55 students working as tutors, helping their peers. So obvious question, how much does it cost? It technically doesn't cost anything because it is included in your tuition. So you're not going to pay anything additional. But make sure that I encourage you to talk to your son or daughter to take advantage of this support system that they have, because we want every student who is taking core music courses to be successful. That's all we talk about all day long. So today I have one of our tutors, Eli Slavkin, is with me. Eli has been tutoring for the past 3 semesters. He's one of our star tutors, and he's going to very briefly talk about his experience working with his fellow students. Come on.
Hey, also, as Christy mentioned, my name is Eli Slavkin. I'm from Los Angeles, California, and I'm a senior at Berklee, and I've been tutoring in the core music department for 3 semesters, and this will be my 4th semester. I've had the opportunity to work with dozens of students at this point in both weekly sessions and drop-in sessions. And the biggest piece of advice that I would like to give to all of you, and you can relay onto your students or your children, would be that they should not be stressing about what level they get placed into in their first semester, because I've worked with students from pretty much every imaginable background in music, people who have gone to a conservatory before and transferred to Berklee, or people who have never seen a treble clef before, but have amazing ears and have been playing in a church their whole life, every imaginable background. So I would really, really encourage you to give them that advice that they should not worry about what level they are placed into, because the idea is just to put them in a place where they'll be able to succeed and be around students that have similar experience. And of course, recommend the core music tutoring because it's really great. Thank you.
Hello again. So now we're just going to talk about the performance piece. So on the each student their first semester will have a 50-minute lesson. It's broken down by their principal instrument. And then also they have an ensemble. So this is when when they audition for their ensemble, they can request a particular genre, and we try to match that genre with what they want. So it could be country, it could be R&B, it could be jazz, rock. Then we also have the liberal arts. So there are 3 courses within the liberal arts. So there's the Introduction to Music Technology, the Engaging Seminar, that Lens course I had mentioned earlier, and then also for students in the degree program, there's the Introduction to College Writing. So entering students in the degree program will have 16 credits, where students in the diploma program will have 13. And before I meet Scott, introduce Scott up here, I'm sorry, meet you. I just want to, at the end, we will have a question time. So also, feel free to ask the Sams some questions as well. So now I'd like to introduce Scott Trock. He is the Associate Dean of Student Advising and Success.
Well, I'm so pleased that I got to meet Sandra because it's been a long time. We see each other daily, and I was like, I should meet her at some time. So it's already been a successful day. As Sandra said, my name's Scott Trock. I'm the Associate Dean here for Student Advising and Success, and specifically the areas that I directly oversee involves Christy's area, core music tutoring. I also oversee disability services, and then there's an office of student success. So I'm an alum of the college, although sometimes I say to parallel things with students now, it's a little bit of a stretch. I was here a few years ago. But nonetheless, every chance I get, I tell students, and I'll tell you that Berklee changes the trajectory of students' lives. It had such a profound impact on me, and I'm so pleased that I had the opportunity to go through here. So basically, I encourage all students to just embrace these 4 years. If you're doing a double, maybe it's 5 years, but embrace this time, because for me, it's almost like a faint memory. It's been so many years since I've been here, and it'll be like that. Although here we are talking and we're just about to start Berklee, it really flies by. Now, if you ask any of the people that are in their senior year, they'll probably say otherwise. It doesn't fly by, but trust me, once you get through the senior year, it is, you're going to look back and say, wow, this really flew by. So I do have some just general kind of overviews, and although Berklee is such a really cool place, it's kind of a mecca for musicians, folks that all are creative artists, it's not so dissimilar from other institutions, and some of the foundational kind of premises of how to be successful at college really ring true here at Berklee. So I'll go through a few of them, and maybe I can augment a little bit about it. But there's the top 10 list. This is a great photo op, for everyone out there. But really, to start off, really one of the foundational pieces to know about students is this is your opportunity, and ultimately you are going to be the person who is in charge of your education here. And I think as family, parents, and supporters of students, the best thing we can do is really to just encourage that. There's this piece of self-advocacy that students really need to take on. And much so like in the music industry, if you just sit in your bedroom and you're a smoking guitarist or whatever, no one's really going to come looking for you to sign a deal or go out and perform. You really have to get out there and put yourself out. So the same thing at college too. We're all here to help and mentor students, but really they're in control of how they're going to use these 4 years at the college. So communicating effectively and asking for help when it's needed is really important. Certainly Christy's team stands ready. We have a robust tutoring program for all the liberal arts. So basically any class that we offer here, we have assistance for it. And it really just starts with someone saying, hey, I think I could use a little more help. And they can say that either to a faculty member or to any of their academic advisors, the SAMs, their Lens class, anyone, and we'll get them connected with that additional support to help ensure success. Number two, and Sandra didn't pay me to say this, visit your advisor each semester. It really is good, even though we have a lot of self kind of help resources. We have a grid that spells out, like, to be this major, you should take this class every semester. It really helps to take the time once a semester, sit down with your advisor, and just talk about your plan. What is it that you want to do? What are some of your concerns? I tested into a higher level. What does this mean? Can I just take all these extra classes now? Or how does that fit in with my path towards graduation? And they'll really be kind of the guide on the side, the mentor that really helps the students understand the implications. And much like Christy's services, it's embedded in the tuition, right? So make use of that. And sometimes it's underutilized, or folks say, oh, it's my 6th semester, I should go talk to my advisor now. You should talk to your advisor every semester, okay? Taking a full credit load, the college majors, specifically some of them like therapy, music ed, to name a few, but all of them have the ability to take electives and explore. But sometimes we like to explore too much, all right? And so that's why, linking back to number 2, talking about your plan with your advisor and what you're going to take, but taking a full credit load every semester, 16 if you're degree, 13 if you're diploma, will really help you get done in a timely manner, right? And that's one of the concerns. We all realize that, it's a financial commitment for students to come here, and we're hoping that you're making that commitment for 8 semesters and not 9 or 10 or 11 or 12, unless you really want that, okay? So taking that full credit load, unless there's really some circumstance that would require a student to take a reduced course load, I would advocate tuition pays for 13 if you're in diploma and 16 if you're in the degree. Take all those credits, okay? Make sure any AP or other earned college credits are transferred, okay? So if your student has taken AP classes, honors, English, some of those credits will transfer into the college. And I know that we have a couple of our folks here from the registrar that are happy to remain at the end and answer any of those questions specific to that, the transfer credits. But again, that's going to build efficiencies and help the student graduate on time, or maybe sooner, or free up to take more exploratory classes if they wish. So making sure that those are brought in. Berklee also, the college, has a very liberal credit by exam policy. And one of the first things you'll hear is, we're only going to accept liberal arts credits. Well, not really. We have, what we can do is we have credit by exam. So we don't want you to take a class if you already have mastered that content just because it's on the list. So there are test out procedures where you can go to the chair, you can take an exam, and then if you pass that successfully, you don't need to take that class. So that's another efficiency. Or if you've studied a lot at another conservatory or done your own work in terms of theory, our placement exam places you at the appropriate level. So if you get into Harmony 3, that means you've received credit for MAT and Harmony 2. Okay, so if a student feels that way, again, talking to their advisor about, I think I studied this, so I think I know this, that's a great way. Or just talking to the faculty members and say, I've studied this. So take advantage of that. At the college, we all come in undeclared, right? So we have a couple semesters to kind of look around. What are we thinking? What are we interested in? What seems like a path that we want to take? And that's great. It's built that way by design. But again, much like those elective classes, we can kind of meander for a little bit too long sometimes. So really thinking about when you get into your 3rd semester, being declared in your major and picking a path to go down towards graduation, really important. So look around, first semester, 2nd semester, 3rd semester, start down a path. Even if for some reason you get down it and you say, I'd like to change now, or my plans have changed, it's still okay. But waiting 4th semester, 5th semester to declare a path will inevitably lead to a longer duration here at the college, okay? Avoiding class withdrawals and failures, another big one, because again, that is, resources, and I use that resources broadly in terms of there's a cost associated with it, but sometimes the cost isn't just dollars and cents, it's time. So every time that you withdraw from a class and you say, oh, I think I'm going to take it next semester, it adds to that, all right? It adds to the cost, it adds to the time to completion. So, use the W only when needed, strategically, And again, that's why it's great to have those conversations with the academic advising team as you go along. If you're saying, things don't seem to be going well in my fill-in-the-blank class this semester, there could be opportunities for us to supplement tutoring, get you back up in there, right, in good standing in the class before you just assume I'm going to take a withdrawal from the class. Okay, so again, strategically, sometimes it's necessary, but it's something that you want to use very sparingly. Number eight, and this is a challenge, right? Prioritize class over work and side projects. And what's really unique about Berklee and sometimes presents an unintended challenge is the fact that we're so closely enmeshed with career development. So as a student's coming here and learning about the industry and learning about their craft, they're also encouraged to be immersed in that and go and do and create. And sometimes the lines start to blur a little bit, right? And there's these great opportunities that take us away from what we're actually really here to do, right? And it's to study and increase our abilities so that we can ultimately become gainfully employed and continue on in our art after graduation. So again, just encourage the students to think about every semester. When I meet a student, I really say, you need to commit to, are you going to be a student this semester, or are you going to pursue your opportunities? And sometimes opportunities do come up, and they're legitimate opportunities. And one of the reasons that our college has this kind of open door policy is we were built for artists, and sometimes artists have great opportunities, and they go and they pursue that opportunity for a semester or two, and then they come back and continue to study. But it really needs to be a strategic plan again. So in September, I have this great opportunity to do whatever, and it's going to take me away from the college. I'm going to be absent for 8 weeks. Okay, it's pretty much saying, like, I can't be a student. Even though it's really cool and it involves music, you can't be absent from class for 8 weeks and still expect to pass the class, okay? So then there's the opportunity to say, I'm going to take that opportunity and I'll come back in the spring. And the college is okay with that, right? The college is built for that. But it's not when the fourth week of the semester I'm going to leave and I'm going to be gone for 8 weeks during the semester. It just never works out that way. So again, prioritizing that. And again, finances are always a challenge. And, I fell into the same thing. I had a great opportunity to have a job where I made a lot of money, and then part of my job started to filter into, I can't go to my ear training classes, right? You have to make a decision at that point to prioritize it, because if you don't, it's going to wind up, ear training class isn't going to go well, you're going to need to retake the ear training class, et cetera, et cetera. So just remain focused on, like I said, this will fly by ultimately. These 8 semesters will be quick in the overall scheme of life, right? So focusing on being a student and taking advantage of these 8 semesters, really good advice. Enjoy it, but it'll just be that short period of time. We have tremendous resources at the college. You heard about some of them today, the advising, the tutoring. There's also, the Learning Center has great classes that help students learn about technology and other aspects of music. Take advantage of them. They're all, the funding to support that is all embedded in the tuition, right? And it's there for you to use as a resource. So taking advantage of that is a huge benefit to you in your overall education here. And then having that viable financial plan for 8 semesters. And if you follow, my assertion is if you follow 1 through 9, you're only going to need that viable financial plan for 8 semesters or less. But most of the time where we see things start to go awry is when there's the W's, or something happened and I have to withdraw from the semester because I left for 6 weeks to go gig. Things like that. And then that leads into a 9th semester of enrollment or a 10th semester of unintended enrollment. And again, that has a dollar and cents cost associated with an in tuition and the fee of living in Boston, right? So again, think about those things, and inevitably the folks that we can kind of check all these boxes, we see them graduate in 8 or less. continue on and move on to the next phase of their professional career, which is really what our goal is, to prepare students for that. So, with the top 10 tips, now part of history, we will look for any questions that you might have, and I will go sit down because inevitably I wind up answering all the questions in the end. I'm just gonna sit down and let some of my colleagues answer some of those too. So, but I could moderate things. We had a couple questions. I saw this hand. We'll get.
Could you explain a little further about like the curriculum for the first semester for incoming students who have like APs that might, you know, and that might transfer in, and I know they're testing and so forth next this week. How does that all work for them?
Like back there too. You got those. Yeah.
So the, oh, what, okay, I couldn't hear myself. Okay, so the question was about what if, you know, your student comes in and has some AP credit or some transfer credit, what would their schedule look like? Well, in the first semester, what will happen is that they will be put, if, let's say they did have that AP, they'll be put into another liberal arts course. So they will have a complete schedule. So even if they test out, some of you students may have tested out of Introduction to Music Technology, so that would have opened up 2 credits, and we will put them into another technology course. And if there is, let's say, there wasn't a liberal arts course that matched your students' schedule because of the timing of the other courses, then we have an event where we're helping students get full schedules on Friday, so they can start next Monday with the full schedule.
Is that, just to follow up, I think it was very helpful. So is that done in conjunction with the advising team for those students, or how are they picking their first semester classes?
So the question is how are students picking their first semester classes? So what happens is this week they'll be testing, so they'll be auditioning and testing. So then there's a what's called registration, batch registration. So all the students will actually be put into the classes by the college Thursday night, and then Friday morning they will have their schedules. And then we have events later on in the day on Friday. So if students have questions or, you know, they just want to talk about their schedule, they can. And also on Thursday, the academic advising team is holding a mandatory session for all entering students to talk about their first semester schedule, what's on their schedule, and to answer any questions and to prepare them for Friday.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes. Hi.
I have 2 quick questions. One is, back in the old days, when I was in school, your academic advisor became the person in your major.
Yes.
So does that not happen? Do you stick with your same academic advisor? You don't, when you declare a major, you don't go to now have a new advisor who's in your major?
Right, that's actually a great question. So before students declare a major, their academic advisor is their primary advisor. Once they declare the major advisor is the primary, but we're still in the background. So your student will have an academic advisor from next week until they graduate.
Same one.
Same academic advisor, exactly. And then when the major comes in, we step back, but we're still working with the departments and with the students.
I also have one other quick question.
Sure.
So my daughter's at Berklee.
Okay.
If there's, for example, some vocal classes that she might want to take.
Yes.
If she took those, how do those get slotted into like liberal arts or general electives, or do they actually go into the?
So the question was, what if your student wants to take a course at the Boston Conservatory? Where do those courses land, basically? And they'll be in the general electives. Yeah, so now all students are required to have general electives as well. So, you know, if you talk to your son or daughter and they're declaring film scoring, but they're taking an MP&E course, they'll get credit for that as well, because they do have those electives. And the electives are nice because it really can diversify what they're learning, or they could really build a more solid education around what their major is. They can use them the way they want, which is nice. Yes. No.
Can you tell me the difference in the curriculum between the degree program and the diploma program?
Sure. So the difference between the degree program and the diploma program, they're both 4 years or 8 semesters. The degree program has 120 credits that are required to graduate, and the diploma has 96. The biggest difference are the requirements under liberal arts. So some diploma program, I mean, all diploma also have liberal art courses that are required, but they don't have the same amount of courses that are required. So those students will have, the maximum credits they can take in a semester is 13 for diploma, and then for degree is 16. You're welcome.
How does it work if a student wants to switch from diploma?
So if a student wants to switch from diploma to degree, up until Friday, they would meet with admissions. After that, they will meet with their academic advisor, and we'll sit with them and, you know, see, kind of reevaluate what their goals are and what they want to do after Berklee. Because honestly, if a student, I always tell them, if you have just an inkling, like you're thinking of a master's degree down you want the degree.
Right. And even if they've been, like, say, a year or more down the line, and they say, "Oh, I started with diploma, and now I think I really want to do a degree," is it too late, or can they catch it up?
So the question is, what if, you know, a year down or two down the line that the student decides to change from diploma to degree? Is it too late? Maybe, maybe not. It depends on the major. But then there are ways that in the summer maybe they could do some liberal arts, you know, at home to transfer those in to kind of catch up.
You wouldn't even have to necessarily be at Berklee.
Right, they can do some, yes, transfer credits. Exactly, because the liberal arts piece, that's the big difference. If they're in, the major stays the same, the course stays the same, it's the liberal arts.
For the principal instrument, do the students have any choice as to who their instructor is?
So the questions is, if for principal instrument, can the students choose their instructor? They can ask, and they'll try to do that their first semester. As you know, a lot of students will come here to Berklee to study with particular professors too. That's why they're here. If they don't get it their first semester, you know, each semester they have a better chance of getting that particular professor. But another way they could do that is through particular ensembles or instrumental labs. They can get, you know, to work with that professor that way as well. You're welcome. Yes.
Does the college have a traditional grading system like we do in other universities, like A, B, C, all 4.0, that whole step? Yeah, okay.
So the question was, does the college have the traditional grading system like A, B, C, D? Yes.
If someone's transferring from another university, and they have questions about which units transferred and didn't, what do they do?
So, Anne, or can I have you answer that one? Here. So we have Anne Leone. She's our associate registrar, and she knows everything. No pressure.
That is not true. I try to. Also, I'm here with Jeffrey Kinnaman, who's the registrar of the college as well.
She knows more than I do.
So, transferring from another institution. So, one of the main questions are, a lot of students obviously supplied transcripts from other institutions prior to coming to Berklee. So those would have been sent to the admissions office. So if we've not received your transcript, and that's another thing, I'll be happy to help you after this session. Some of the students may receive their schedules on Friday and say, oh, geez, you know, I thought I received transfer credit for a certain course or English, and the next level is not on their schedule. So that's something that we have to work with admissions and then double check. Sometimes we have not received it at all. The college has not received the transcript. So what we'll do, we'll make an exception. We'll ask for an unofficial transcript, and then we'll ask the student to follow up with the institution to make sure we receive the official transcript for our records. Does that? And also in deciding what they applied to for Berklee, yes. So it has to sort of correspond with the course description. The grade must be grade of C or higher, and it also has to be a 3-credit course.
So if they have questions, do they see you, or do they see that?
I'm sorry.
If they have a question about what did or did not transfer?
Sure, the registrar's office. We're happy to help. And they also have access at my.berklee.edu. They can see actually what is transferred. If the students go to my.berklee and they click on view student profile or view transcript, they can just go in there and make sure they're in the undergraduate pull down, and then they can see actually what transferred. You're welcome.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah, so all I've heard in the last 2 days is I need to let go as a parent. I've learned that much. So I need a couple of tips from you. The first one would be, and I heard about encouraging the student to go and visit their academic advisor on a semester basis. How do you encourage students to do that? Some of them won't do it, and because we've let go, and they're over 18 now. What is your tip in terms of encouraging that to happen?
I'll have another student.
Yeah. So the question was, what are the tips for students to actually come to the resources and track down those resources? Because it can be a lot of information, and as a student here in my 5th semester, sometimes it still is a lot of information with just how many resources we have. But as a student academic mentor, for my 2nd year now, this is something that I run into a lot with students. They're so overwhelmed that maybe they don't want to reach out to those resources. But as a parent, I think a great thing to do is say hey, talk to your friends about it, or who are your friends going to see? Have you met with your academic mentor, whether that be the SAM or your academic advisor, someone like Sandra? So yeah, just encouraging them to find those resources through whatever part of the pyramid that they want, I think, is the best way to do it. I know for me, I was really comfortable going into the advising office, but that can be a really scary thing for a first semester student here as well. So just sorting that out from your peers too, and asking them as a parent, if that's around.
Hi, I'm Jeffrey Kinnaman, the registrar. I just wanted to add to that, and I think that the secret ingredients to success at Berklee and in life is failure. And I think it's really important to let them fail in small ways early on, and I see it all the time. The ones that fail that course in their first semester, they get their act together and fail. It's the people who don't trip early, they trip late and they fall because they didn't trip early. So I just wanted to add that.
And I also think, just to familiarize yourself too with the Berklee website, so you understand. So if your son or your daughter calls and is really upset, or I don't understand this policy, or so then you can kind of talk through that with them, and then you can refer them back and say, oh, did you talk to your professor? Did you talk to the academic advising office? So then that way they then they can start kind of owning it. It's hard, I know.
I just wanted to add to that too from our office. So on the berklee.edu site, if you type in important dates and deadlines, it's actually within the registrar's office site. That's a invaluable resource to let the students know how long is that drop, when's the last day to declare a major, when is the withdrawal deadline. So it's very, very important, and you would all have that access to see that as well. The other thing I think we would all agree is that for students, remind them to check their email on a daily basis. Seriously, that is so important as far as success goes, and being in the loop, because the college will send out reminders and a lot of very important information.
Yes, very good. A mom just said, and read them, and that's so true.
Yeah, and I just want to add one last thing too. It's really a shift, I think, in the role, and it's to be more of a coach. And I think for most folks in the arts, we've had some negative experience at some point in time, but it really comes down to mindset. And I think as a coach, one of the things that you can do is really ensure that this is a natural evolution, right? I don't understand this homework, right? It's of course, because you probably haven't studied this topic in this way before. So problem solve, right? What could you do? What does your syllabus say? What do the office hours say on the syllabus? Why don't you go check out, coaching through that way. And I think the other thing is too, resilience really comes in when you take that first test, and now you're on the grand stage, if you will, right? There's folks from all over the world doing this. And you might take a harmony test or an ear training test and get not 100% on it, right? And I think it's the way you respond to that ultimately is going to determine how things go for you. So you either go, I'm no good at harmony, or you say, this is a new area for me. I haven't studied contemporary harmony before. That happened to me. I mean, I took high school AP theory, but Berklee calls stuff different things than what I'd studied in high school. So when that happens, you go, this is a new thing. I got to go talk to my professor, or I can go to core music tutoring and have someone work with me on a week. But coaching them through the thought process, metacognition, how you're thinking, is really, I think, the greatest role that you can do as a coach in that new role, because they've got to ultimately do, but you can definitely be the coach on the sideline. And like Ann was saying, you can find out when it looks like the deadline for this is today. Have you, and just ask those kind of questions. Knowingly. Sorry, someone over here, we have a whole bunch of questions. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, can you explain ensemble a little bit more? I ask that because if you have a student that's studying film composition, what do you expect from them in ensemble?
So, yeah, well, we have live students. We have current students. I'm a live student, I guess, too, but I'm not current. What I would just say in the most basic terms, one of the things that happens this week is you take another playing test, right? And basically get a set of scores, which we affectionately call ensemble ratings, right? And what that does is it basically just assesses you where you're at in terms of playing. And playing has always been central to a Berklee education. And that's one of the things that's unique. I mean, I was a music ed major when I was here, but I was still playing in ensembles with all the performance majors too. And that's what's really a unique piece of the Berklee education. So you'll get ensemble ratings and it'll qualify you for a whole bunch of ensembles. So you can look through and choose which one you think you would like to be in. But it's going to match you with that, and then determine what major you're in will determine how many of those ensemble requirements you have to do. So obviously a performance major will be more in depth in terms of how many ensembles you're doing, where some of the other majors might not have as many. So that's kind of the quick take on that.
Can I add to that?
Oh, you certainly may.
Just to add to that from a student perspective, I think Berklee has a very big understanding that you may be a composition-centric student, or maybe you're someone who really wants to perform, and they see value in all our core music classes, so ensemble would fall under that core music section. I think the reason why we have that ensemble class in place is even from someone who is not looking to do performance myself. I'm a songwriting major. Some of my best friends are actually film scoring majors. There's a lot of value in taking an ensemble class. For me personally, what I got out of it is even though I wasn't looking to perform as a vocalist, I understood a little bit more how to communicate with the rhythm section, especially when I'm going into that studio work, or if I'm going to be a composer. Now I know, hey, I'm composing for this instrument that I don't know much about, but I understand a little more about what the range or the capabilities of this instrument as well. So all students are required to take, I believe, 4 semesters worth or 4 one-credit ensembles, so they could take 2 in the same semester. But it's important to kind of just learn how to communicate with the other people. You can learn a little more about different styles that might also influence or help, I guess, expand what your compositional needs might be as well.
Just one more quick thing. Also within the ensembles, like if your kid is a film scoring major, there's ensembles that are centered around that too. Like you can be playing on the scoring stage for your ensemble class or stuff, that would spark an interest in whatever is specific to their interests. So, yeah.
Once a student schedules to meet with their advisor, what time frame works is elapsing? Is it the next day or next week, or how does that work?
I'm sorry, I can't see who's this? Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I cannot at least see with this bright light. So the question was, how long are the academic advising appointments, and then how long in advance do you have to? Okay, so usually it's one day. You can, but they're 30 minutes. As I say that, during the registration period, they should try to do that at least 2 or 3 days out, because that's when everybody really starts thinking about what I have to do next semester. So what we're trying to do is get students to come in earlier, because you can start thinking about registration. October's a great month to have your children to start thinking about registration. And then we can spend that time with them, and it's not this mad rush.
Sure.
that presentation of the 10 points to success. Great presentation. Are you going to give that to students as well?
Well, that's a great question.
Actually, that is.
Yeah, I do. Every chance I have to present to students, I put that up. So I don't think, that was a good reminder. So whenever I get a chance to speak to them, I don't have a session per se with the entering class, but I think that there's certainly the mentors and the orientation leaders are also aware of that because I present to them and pass that along. So, and it's also available on my website, which I will shamelessly plug now, which is berkeley.edu/success. So it's pretty easy to remember. Yes.
If you get credits by exam, when is the best semester or year to take a lighter course load based on having those extra credits? That's one question. And then the second question I have is, are the liberal arts classes also available online?
Okay, so I'll do the liberal art ones first. So are there liberal art courses available online? We have some courses that are available online. We do have Berklee online, but it's okay. So Berklee Online and Berklee Campus, we're all one school, but we have very separate I can't think of the word. Yeah, the curriculum, and even, so you can, the students can take courses through Berklee Online, let's say over the summer, and then have them transfer in, and they're not counted towards the transfer limit, so they could do that. That is one way. What was your other question? I'm sorry.
And then a backup for that. If they take it in the summer, is it considered, do you have to pay separately? Or
Yes, so whenever, if Berklee Online and Berklee Campus, they're two separate tuitions, yes. And the one thing to remember Berklee Online, they have 12-week sessions, so they have 4 12-week sessions a year. So their semesters could actually be running into our semesters, so that's something to think about. There's no financial aid available, scholarship available for Berklee Online unless you're fully matriculated to Berklee Online. But we do have, quite a few students taking some liberal arts through Berklee Online.
Okay, and the other question was, if you have credits by exam, when would be the best time to take a lighter course load? What semester or year?
Okay, I think I have a mic. Okay. For me personally, I would say if you are someone who transferred in a lot of credits, you did a lot of credits by exam, and you find yourself with a little extra time in your, journey here at Berklee, if they're not looking to take another class and they want to do a lighter workload, I would always suggest doing it maybe towards the end of your semesters or the end of your major, only because that's usually when you're really starting to network a lot more career opportunities might be arising, so it gives you a little more freedom to explore those opportunities. Along with that, I feel a lot of the majors here at Berklee, that's when your last few semesters, you'll be taking a lot of the major courses, not so much liberal arts and not so much core music. So the projects might be a little more intensive, a little heavier in the workload, so that might be a good chance to take maybe 15 credits instead of 16 or 14 instead of 16 if that's the case.
And yes, and I think, in some of the majors, that's really the final projects, and building up to those final project courses, semesters 6, 7, and 8, if they could do that lighter, I think that would be honestly the best time as well. Okay, so we have 2 more minutes.
I have a quick question. So I know Valencia is an option. Do students who go to Valencia, do they still get 16 credits if they're a degree student per semester if they're there?
Yeah, so the question was for our campus in Valencia, Spain, do students still have 16 credits there? Yes. And what's really important is if you have your student wants to attend the campus on Valencia, please have them meet with their academic advisor early, because depending on the major, there are semesters that are better for them to go to Valencia so it doesn't prolong their graduation. There are times when if they do that late and we kind of figure out a graduation plan, we'll let them know, if you do this, this is going to extend your graduation semester by 1 or 2, or so everything's up front. So I would say October is a great month. The question was, how soon could they come in? If it's for the, I would say if they could this first semester, just to start thinking about it so we can kind of present. In the study abroad program, they'll be going out also and really, talking to students and really letting them know what's available. And Jared, our Sam at the end, he attended Valencia last year and had a great experience.
If you have questions, come up.
Oh, and Eli, I'm sorry, Eli. Yes. Yes. Oh, just one more, I'm sorry. Good.
Do you have any arrangements with the local schools in the area for languages, certain languages offered here?
Yes, we do have Pro Arts. I'm going to have Ann talk a little bit more about this. Just she can give you a little bit more information than I can.
Oh, yeah.
So we are up against time, and just because there's a bunch of other things, we'll all hang here for a little bit. So if you have some individual questions, come on up and ask. But again, just welcome. Know that we're here to support your students, and have a great day. All right, thank you.